Sorry. All right. Welcome, everyone, to No Credentials Required, where you don't need a press pass to talk sports. We are proudly presented by Belly Up Sports. My name's Ryan McCarthy. I'm one of the hosts. To my right is a man who's getting deferred money today, but it's YouTube imaginary money. Dustin Henry. Dustin, how are you doing tonight?
That's right. I'm getting 1 cent today. No, I don't know. I'm doing all right. I'm doing all right. Things in life have been a little crazy lately. Lot of things going on. I won't get into them here, but except for when I do, because I randomly decide to share massive parts of my life with people of the internet. But as usual, I'm fired up to be here with you, ready to discuss some things. We always think that there's going to be nothing to talk about, Ryan, and then magically something happens. How are you tonight, sir?
I'm doing pretty good. It's I got a great weekend watching lots and lots of football, which was awesome. And Sunday was just a day to just chill in, watch a movie, which we're going to review tonight.
Yeah.
We're going to review Invictus from 2009, starring Morgan Freeman and Matt Damon. But we also got other stuff in the docket. But before we do that, we just want to welcome those of you watching on our Twitter, on Belly Up Sports, Twitter and Facebook, where we went live there tonight. A little bit later is the Fantasy Baseball Hour with our friends of the show, Vince Stover and Kevin Wilson. They discuss everything fantasy baseball. Actually, no, this is fantasy football tonight. I forgot.
Wow.
Fantasy football is tonight.
Oh,
fantasy
okay,
baseball is usually Sundays or Mondays, depending on the
That's
times.
right, the Monday show. Yeah.
But the Tuesday show is fantasy football. I guess they're doing fantasy stuff. Like that's too much in the weeds for me, man.
How's your fantasy
it's
baseball
July.
season
It's only
going?
July 1st.
How's your baseball season going, fantasy wise?
Not great, Dustin.
I'm in the same boat. And I'm the league commish. And everybody's like, "Oh, shouldn't the commish be good?" Not always. When you have a bunch of injuries and things happen. Okay.
My record, the UCL Donation Center, is 1-13.
Oh, UCL Donation Center. I like that. Chief Nakahoma currently in 9th place of 12. So I'm not in last, but I'm not.
I am in dead last. so much for my foray back into fantasy baseball, but it's my fault for not sitting lineups every day, and
it's a lot to stay on top of.
They needed a 10th team, and I signed up. It's like it's things happen.
Yeah, sometimes you get in there. You fill in where you're needed.
Yeah. So again, welcome to the Belly Up Sports Twitter and Facebook channels. Welcome tonight. We're going to be on the Belly Up YouTube channel tomorrow. This will be recorded, and also we're live on the No Credentials Required YouTube channel. Before we get into everything, please, we invite you to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Just search for No Credentials Required on each platform, and also check out our other podcasts and written articles like the Fantasy Show on bellyupsports.com. On the podcast side, subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen to podcasts, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Spreaker, Amazon Music, iHeart, TuneIn, Pandora, and also our YouTube channel after the show. And don't forget to hit that notification bell on Twitter and on YouTube. That way you're notified when live shows go up, when we have show announcements, when we have clips of the show. I'm starting to put up our No Ticket Required movie review series on our YouTube channel, the No Credentials Required YouTube channel. So go ahead and check us out. We're trying to get to 500 subscribers. We've been kind of stuck on 394 for the longest time, but we're trying to get the drive in. So if you're watching on YouTube, if you're watching on Facebook or on the Belly Up Sports Twitter /X channel, go to YouTube, go to No Credentials Required, and subscribe. Got plenty of content coming for the summer. Got plenty of content coming down the road. So we invite you to come check us out. On the podcast side, rate, review, comment. A 5-star rating will be very, very helpful. Leave a review on a podcast platform where you can. Also, leave a comment. Again, this will be on the YouTube, the Belly Up Sports YouTube channel tomorrow at 2:15ish. So go ahead and leave a comment there about what you thought of Invictus, about Bobby Bonilla Day, about the Albany Firebirds, all the other stuff going on like trades and NHL free agency. It's wild out there. It's wild. It's a wild time today because it's July 1st. It's July 1st as we record. And also, we're a live show most Tuesdays at 6:30 p.m. Eastern, Saturday mornings at 10 a.m. Eastern for the morning brunch edition. we invite you to come out there and hang out with us. But you can leave us a live comment on Facebook, on Twitter, on YouTube during the show on the YouTube, on the No Credentials Required YouTube channel. And I know it's Tuesday, Dustin, but something my watch is telling me it's a certain time of the show where we play a special tune.
Feel the rhythm, feel the rhyme. Watch out now, it's chime time.
Yeah. All right. Without further ado, let's go ahead and start our newest edition of the No Ticket Required Summer Movie Review Series. Let's hit that bumper. This week, we are reviewing 2009's Invictus, which is a biopic film, stars Morgan Freeman and Matt Damon. This is based on the true my goodness. This is based on the true story of what happened after the election of Nelson Mandela as president of South Africa when apartheid ended. He's trying to unite the country. And he's trying to do it behind the South African Springboks rugby team. And there's also a 30 for 30 ESPN, which tells the entire story. This is long after Nelson Mandela passed, so they didn't get a chance to interview him. But they interviewed many of the rugby players, many of the players who are on that team. They interviewed the coach. They interviewed some other people who lived in South Africa at the time. I believe it was Bishop Desmond Tutu was one of those who was interviewed. Okay. There's another human rights activist who was also interviewed. But I had never seen this movie before. I don't think Dustin had ever seen this movie either. So you're gonna see this through our eyes, which are, I would say, qualify as fresh eyes in terms of seeing this movie for the first time. So while I look up some facts about the film, Dustin, why don't I get your impressions about this movie? What you thought? Were you surprised? Were you disappointed? Were you inspired? Let's get your thoughts on this film.
I will say now, full disclosure, I had seen this movie, but I probably saw it in the theaters when it first came out. If not, right when it came out, close to when it came out, because I could be misremembering, but I saw it. I know I watched it with my mom, and I think we watched it in the theater. So, because sometimes Mom and we would go to the movies and stuff, but sometimes it was tough to find one that we could agree on. But that was one, if memory serves, that we both kind of were interested in, I think for different reasons, or maybe, I can't ask her, unfortunately, but maybe she was just, trying to do me a solid there. But so I would say I hadn't seen this movie in over a decade. So I'd say they're pretty fresh eyes here, decade plus. So I would say it did a good job. This movie tries to tackle a lot. It really tries to tackle a lot. It gets to the point, as a matter of fact, the first half of this movie, I wouldn't really classify as that much of a sports movie. The rugby team makes some appearances. The second half is when this becomes a sports movie. This kind of turns the corner and becomes a traditional sports movie. But this movie to me was about a lot more than sports. Obviously, yes, I'm not super educated on apartheid in South Africa, and I'm not, but I know Nelson Mandela, he abolished it. Got rid of it. And this movie tackles that issue and shows kind of to the best of its ability. And I'm sure there's some Hollywoodification in there. I'm sure there is. But to the best of his ability, what I liked about this movie is I think it definitely walked the line between a political movie and tackling a bigger issue and showing the divide that clearly was there in the country. And also walking the line of a traditional sports movie. I think it does a decent job of putting the two things together. This thing is going to rank pretty high on my list, although I watched this movie in two halves because of scheduling and some other things that were happening in life. And I was I was more enraptured with the first half, I will say. But when it went to the second half and became a traditional sports movie, I would say, I was still in, but I wasn't as interested. I was interested in, to me, Morgan Freeman. This movie is starring Morgan Freeman and Matt Damon, as you've been saying. But Morgan Freeman is the clear star of this movie. Morgan Freeman gets more screen time in this movie. And he has a little bit of an accent, but he does a better job than Will Smith. He doesn't try to like go too far. Right. That's right. We took another shot at King Richard, the can of corn, even though I liked it. I liked it more than Ryan did, but still, it was not high on either of our lists that year. So I thought this movie, it tries to tackle a lot. So I'll kind of land the plane here. But I thought it did a good job of showing the divide in South Africa in the opening sequence. And kind of did the montage-y thing to try to set up, what had been going on. And then in the beginning of the movie, I thought some of the metaphors in this movie, or the shots rather, were a little heavy-handed. In the beginning, the two sides are separated by a literal fence. You got the rugby team playing rugby over there, and you got a bunch of African American, or not, you have literal Africans, sorry. You have black people playing soccer, and they're separated by a fence here, and I'm like, okay, that's that's a little much.
It's heavy-handed, but it's true to form because of apartheid, which is basically Jim Crow, the Jim Crow of Africa. That's basically what it was, Jim Crow laws. But it was Jim Crow laws on steroids.
Yeah, it was a really ramped up version. And I was about to say it's heavy handed, but it does work. And then I don't know about you, Ryan, and we'll get your thoughts, but I buy Morgan Freeman as Mandela immediately. Like he immediately is likable. Immediately the scene where he tries right in the beginning to unite the two police forces into his guard. And you can see what he's trying to do. And I have right here, heavy-handed approach to emphasize the division and fears and paranoia by both black and white South Africans in this movie, but it works. Mandela immediately tries to lead by example, unifying the security team. I really like that. And his reasoning, to me, one of the highlights of this movie is his speech explaining to a sports group that wants to abolish the name of the Springbok. And he talks about rooting against the Springboks and rooting against any team. He was a fan while he was in prison. He was a fan of any team that was playing the Springboks. But his speech in the movie perfectly illustrates why he's so adamant about keeping the Springboks name. He said, if we change everything that they love and everything that they hold dear, we are playing right into their fears. We're doing exactly what they're expecting us to do. And, to me, it was a highlight. And his aide there, I would say maybe like his right hand woman. She keeps telling him, like, why are you so invested in this rugby? And he says, there's certain scenes throughout the movie where he says, you still think I'm wasting time? Because you could see that the rugby is uniting people, and that's what Mandela is trying to do. He's trying to unite people through sports, and I think this movie illustrates the point correctly that sometimes sports can be a lot more than sports. They can serve a larger purpose, and I really enjoyed the sequence of the rugby team working with the kids. At the beginning, of course, you got one guy that's like, "Oh, I'm glad I don't live here," and then by the end, that guy's helping a kid, and
lifting kids in the air. They're all tackling him.
Yeah, and he enjoys it, and that's where Matt Damon really enters this movie. For the first 44 minutes, you really don't see Matt Damon. You have one opening scene where his father is like disgustedly watching Nelson Mandela drive to the president's residence with disgust, and he says some horrible thing, and Matt Damon is silent. And then that's the last time you see Matt Damon until, about 45 minutes to an hour into this movie. And then it becomes clear that Mandela, he asks Matt Damon to bring this team together. He asked Matt Damon, he said, hey, I want this team to serve a bigger purpose. And Francois really, really gets into it. The way the movie portrays it, Francois buys in, and Francois is the reason that the team starts training so hard and really buys in and kind of realizes it's more about rugby. They're trying to help the country. And, then the second half of this movie really hits all the sports movie boxes, but I didn't find it annoying. Sometimes, Ryan, we watch movies, we find them a little tropey, but this one had everything. It's got the team coming together, similarly to another movie that is on our list for later in No Tickets Required rotation. Remember the Titans. You will see that the Invictus follows the template. The team, they have many teams where they have many scenes where you can see the team is bonding. They're coming together. They're starting to really click on all cylinders. And then you have the unstoppable opponent. They really do a great job of setting up the All Blacks and how indestructible they were. And I'm not a big rugby fan, but even I know about the fame of the All Blacks and everything, and the haka and all the things that they did, and what a dominant opponent this were. So that's where they really honed in on it and kind of brought it into the plane of a traditional sports movie. But I like this movie, and I'll finish out with one quote that I've been big on quotes from movies this year. Maybe it's because of what's going on in my life. But it said, if I cannot change when circumstances demand it, how can I expect others to? And that was a quote by Morgan Freeman playing Nelson Mandela. And I think that movie, that quote sums up this movie for me. And with that, I turn it over to you, Ryan.
Okay, so I forgot that Clint Eastwood was the director of this film.
Yeah,
he was director. Mm-hmm. So there were some parts in this movie where I'm going, okay, because I had watched The 16th Man, which was the 30 for 30.
I have not.
About the South Africa rugby team, because it was 15 years. Actually, this year will be 30 years after that win in South Africa in the Rugby World Cup in 1995. I'm old. I remember watching some of it. I remember watching some of it when I was 18, because I remember that happened around the summer that I graduated from high school, and I remember watching the replay. I think it was at that time Sports Channel New York.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah, so I remember watching some of it, and that's when I started to get into rugby. Was around that time, but it wasn't until a few years later when I started watching like the Super Pacific Rugby, or what it was called. Yeah, it was Super Rugby then, where it had professional teams from New Zealand, Australia, and at the time, South Africa, playing against each other in the professional leagues. The South Africa broke off a couple of years ago. They're now playing in the United Rugby, which is teams from Ireland, South Africa, Spain, and Italy.
Oh,
in Scotland and Wales, because it was formerly just Irish, Scottish, and Welsh teams, professional teams, and a team from Italy. But now they're all together. I forgot who won the title this year. Was either Leinster or if it was the Bulls. I'll take a look. But that's when I started, again, 95, late 90s, when I started getting to rugby, the All Blacks. Yes, you mentioned the All Blacks team. Fun fact about Jonah Lamu, unfortunately, he's no longer in this realm. He died of kidney failure in, I think, 2011.
Oh,
but
man.
At that time, like, he was magic. That was the guy who got me into rugby, was Jonah Lamu.
Okay.
Because he's a big dude, but he could fly. that's why they put him in the back as a back instead of as a forward, because if I'm looking at the stats. Jonah Lamu, I'm sorry, he died in 2015. I'm sorry, it was 2015. He was 6'5" and like 250 pounds, and he flew.
Oh man.
Like think Aaron Judge playing baseball, but playing rugby.
Yeah, that's
Although
pretty crazy.
Judge is a little taller. I think he's
6'7". I think so. Yeah,
he's a big dude. But Jonah Lamu, man, and I remember at the time when Jonah Lamu was put on the grand stage, because that was his first. I believe that was his first World Cup. Jerry Jones, Gerald, tried to sign him onto the Dallas Cowboys.
Oh my goodness, he would.
Dallas Cowboy.
He would. Oh my goodness.
Hey Jerry, actually, I do want to speak to. I do have Jerry Jones online. Jerry, tell us your thoughts about Jonah Lamu.
You know, when I saw Jonah play in 1995, you know, I went. It's one of the reasons that Jimmy Johnson and I had to part ways, because I wanted to sign him and Jimmy was just not having it. And I said, you know what? Jonah comes to Dallas or you go, my friend. So that's why. But it fell apart in negotiations. You know, I just couldn't make it happen. But it's one of the greatest what ifs. I think he could have been a great Dallas Cowboy.
Would he have made a great Arkansas Razorback?
Oh yes. He exemplifies everything about Arkansas Razorback football.
This is why you want to subscribe to our channel, folks. Stuff like that. But yes, Jonah Lamu did. Jerry Jones did reach out. The Dallas Cowboys reached out to try to sign him. 6'5", 280. It says 283 pounds was his weight, but he ran the 40 in just under 4.5.
That's crazy to me. You know what it reminds me of when you're talking about that description is like Bam Bam Bigelow. Bam Bigelow was a big dude who could moonsault. You know, it's like, you know,
the pride of the beaches of New Jersey.
Yeah.
But looking at some of this, look at this movie and thinking back to that time period, because I remember, you know, as a teenager thinking about that time period. You know, and when Mandela was elected as president of South Africa, I was probably 13 at the time. And then when they hosted the World Cup, I was out of high school. I was 18. So you think during the movie, and you know, there's some overlap of history, I would say some liberties with some of the history there. Kind of make it like, you know, remember the Titans, Miracle. Very Disney-fied in some ways. Some things happened, some things didn't happen. We'll find out, and we'll find out when we review Remember the Titans. But I have to wonder about some things in the movie. And maybe this is the question you would ask Francois Pienaar. Did he actually meet face to face and have afternoon tea with Nelson Mandela?
Mm-hmm.
Did he actually stay up the night before the World Cup final, thinking about Mandela being put in prison for all that time on Robben Island? Like the fact that they were taking that they went to Robben Island during the World Cup, that actually happened. That's documented in the documentary, the 16th Man. So I know for a fact that happened. The rainstorm that happened, they actually almost called off that game, that semifinal against France, because of the weather.
Okay.
And France would have advanced to the final because it's based on all the penalties they took in their game against, I think it was Romania. That where you saw the one scene where you saw all the fighting and the guys pulling each other out of the scrum or the ruck. So, but you know, I mean, at times this movie was a little bit slow, a little bit plotting. But you know, you talk about this so well on the show, Dustin. You talk about the nostalgia factor of some of these movies, and Invictus does have a lot of nostalgia in this movie, especially about that time period where Nelson Mandela is doing his damnedest to bring the country together. It's not longer about whites, it's being white. It's no longer about being black. It's about being unified as a country, which I think is something is missing in our day here in 2025 in the United States. We're so we're so divided over what things going on in the news and politics and the election, and it can get muddled, but that all that stuff just muddles the water in the fact that we're Americans, and we've got next year's our 250th birthday. I mean, how crazy is that? Next year is the 250th anniversary of the United States of America.
It's going to be a big year.
It's going to be a big year for sure. But it's also interesting that Matt Damon was selected to play Francois Pienaar. Matt Damon's 5'10". Francois Pienaar is 6'3". But they try to make it look like you want to suspend that. Again, you got to suspend your disbelief when it comes to movies, even those that are based on a true story, like this one. This one's a biopic. So, but a lot, like you were right, Dustin. A lot of this movie seems to emphasize it's almost kind of like a love letter to Nelson Mandela and what he did for the country. And then I looked up what was happening in South Africa after Mandela served, because he only served one term as president of South Africa. And he said it's very George Washington like that he was only in office for such a short time. He said, I only want to serve one term. And this was the only purpose of him being elected was the fact that he wanted to bring the country together. He wanted to unite the country. And you can see during the final that you see people's houses. You see people, both black and white, sitting in the same room together, watching this rugby final. You see the little boy.
Yes, the cab sequence. Yeah.
The police. With the police listening to the final on the radio. And I don't know if it was in Cape Town or Pretoria or Johannesburg, wherever they were. But as soon as that game ended, the final whistle blew. You see everybody just jumping around, dancing. You see the people outside the liquor store watching the final. And there wasn't a whole lot of action in this movie in terms of the rugby action. Yeah, I can't totally judge how it was filmed, but you see a lot of field level shots as opposed to other football movies where it's just like a one sequence of you're focusing yourself on a certain position, like the quarterback or the running back, or a linebacker or defensive lineman blitzing. Like it's the one shot on the field, in which they actually filmed all the rugby sequences in. I believe they filmed it in Ellis Park. I'm looking at IMDb here. The rugby scenes, I think they film it either in Cape Town or at Ellis Park. I'm trying to remember, but I'll look. I'll find out. Oh yeah, here it is. All the rugby games were filmed at Johannesburg's Ellis Park Stadium.
Okay, so it was on location there where the game was played.
Yep.
And that's actually, I'm glad that you're bringing up the rugby shots, because Ryan, I am not as educated on the sport of rugby as you are, and you played it.
Play it.
Yeah. So I wanted to ask you, I have it in my notes. It says rugby scenes field ? Parentheses, ask Ryan. So how authentic did the rugby scenes feel to you?
It wasn't as intense as playing an actual rugby game, or if you watch a rugby match on television. And you could kind of tell how far rugby has come in terms of the athletic ability, and because you look at the shirts they wear and the pants and the shorts they wear. Like, that's all heavy material back in the day.
Oh yeah.
Like, now you see the material that they wear on the field. It's a little bit tighter, a little bit more athletically formed, because rugby players are a lot more athletic. I wouldn't say a lot more athletic, but they have better training. They have better workout. They know how to take better care of their bodies.
Yeah.
As the game has progressed, you look at a game 30 years ago. Look at some of the footage of the Rugby World Cup in that 30 for 30. And watch some highlights now of a rugby match, of a professional rugby match, whether it be a test match or competition like Six Nations or the Rugby Championship, or even the Super Rugby, which the season actually just ended a couple weeks ago with the Crusaders winning over the Chiefs. It's it's a lot more, it's a lot faster. It's a lot, I wouldn't say aggressive, but it's the physicality is there.
Okay.
And it's a lot different 30 years ago. If you watch some of the rugby from 30 years ago, like in the World Cup and on that 30 for 30. So, but yeah, I mean, they got it right. It's not as, but the filming, like some of the sequences weren't as detailed and in depth. Like you see the scrum, the action in the scrum and the slow motion shots that Clint Eastwood put together, the editing put together.
Yeah.
That's almost true to form.
Okay.
Because I've been involved in a scrum and it's not fun. it's a lot of pushing. It's a lot because it's basically you're basically 8 guys on each side,
Yeah.
just colliding, coming together, and trying to move each other.
Yeah.
And it's a tough task. Although I preferred being in the scrum more than on lineouts because I couldn't. I had bad shoulders, so I had trouble lifting the locks up in the air as a loose head prop. Unless if the guy was a little heavier, if the guy was a little bit lighter, it's fine. Like I can get him up in the air, but if it was a little heavier, I had a really tough time getting up in the air. But no. I wish there could have been a little bit more rugby action. Some kind of true to what the game was back in the 1990s, but they were okay. They did fine.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting that you say you want more rugby action. I think I tend to agree with you because I think the rugby shots that were in there, like the second half of the movie where they shifted pretty much like the final, I'm going to estimate here, but I'm going to say about the final half hour, if not more, was all about the game against the All Blacks and everything. And I like that because it was for building the drama. But that's where the movie kind of grinded down for me, is because it was a lot of emphasis on the game. I think if there had been more action sequences rather than the slow motion scrum shots and all that kind of stuff, I think that's where it kind of slowed down for me. So I think we might be kind of in agreement there.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, this was more, like you said, Dustin, it wasn't so much about the rugby itself. It was more about what Nelson Mandela did for South Africa. And I was looking at IMDb, and he did say, he was on record of saying the only person who could play me in a movie is Morgan Freeman.
Oh, nice.
And
they did that.
Here we are. So before we go to commercial break, what's your ranking for this series? And no credentials no ticket required here.
All right. So the moment we've all been waiting for, Seabiscuit is still number 1 for me.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have to remind myself of the movies mentally that we have watched.
I got the list. Hang on.
All right. So I think because
this is what we've watched so far. We've watched Draft Day, Seabiscuit, Mystery Alaska, Blue Chips, No Holds Barred, and then finally this week Invictus.
Okay, so if I remember correctly, I previously had Blue Chips ranked number 2 because of nostalgia for me. Blue Chips has just been dethroned. Invictus makes number 2 because I was in for most of this movie. Like it's not perfect by any means. Few movies are. Nothing in life is. But I bought into this. I liked how they kind of attacked it from multiple angles, and I like how they really emphasized the climate in South Africa and what Nelson Mandela was trying to do. And like I said, I really bought in to Morgan Freeman immediately. He was instantly likable. I rooted for Mandela, and I like the way that they attacked it. So Invictus is number 2. Blue Chips is number 3. Narrowly edged out Mystery Alaska. I like that a lot. That comes in at number 4. That's going to sound like a bad ranking, but it is not. Draft Day hits number 5, and then number 6, and it will be number 10 by the time we finish. Is No Holds Barred. Sorry, Rip 'em or whatever. Rip. Ryan, your rankings, sir.
All right, so top of the leaderboard is still Seabiscuit for me.
Yeah.
Number 2 is still Mystery Alaska.
Okay. All right.
Number 3, but not by much, is Invictus.
All right.
Now, I do want to ask, during that scene where the South African rugby team are coming back into the locker room, to the dressing room.
Oh, yeah.
And they start drinking, they start getting their beer. Yeah. I have to wonder what kind of beer they were drinking. Because let's all drink. Let's all drink to the bitter taste of defeat. They all take a sip, and Matt Damon's like, "You're right. This does taste like shit."
And they all throw
what
it.
What kind of beer they're drinking? I know what they were.
Well, Ryan, we've been doing this podcast together too long, because I thought the same thing, and I'm like, we got to get cans of it. We got to zoom in. We got to get cans of the beer. We got to try it. And I wonder, though, because on the back of their rugby uniforms, Lion Lager.
Lion Lager.
Or Lion Lager. Jesus. I put some extra flair on it.
Leon.
I don't know why. I don't know why I went French there. Or but Lion,
Lion Lager, yes. They were
Lion Lager.
Primary sponsor, yes.
Yeah. So I wonder if it was Lion Lager. I don't know.
No, because they I don't think it would. It looked like Bundaberg was their beer, but I'll double check.
Yeah,
I'll have to watch it again and look very closely to see what beer brand they were.
Yeah,
or if it was just a generic.
It might have been.
We will have to find Lion Lager somewhere and
for
a taste
sure.
test.
Yeah.
So anyway, my ranking: Seabiscuit, Mystery Alaska, Invictus by a very slim margin, followed by Blue Chips, Draft Day, and then last place, No Holds Barred. That was my
Bill Walton's back. Bill Walton's back. We got a cavalcade of guests. We seem to routinely be able to get Jerry Jones.
Yep.
Bill Walton makes appearances on the show, as does Tony Atlas.
That's right. That's right. Tony Atlas here. We're watching Invictus.
That you gotta clip that one out. You gotta clip that one out. That one was so good.
Our apologies to Tony Atlas.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Oh man.
And that has been this edition of No Ticket Required. All right, we're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we got to cover Bobby Bonilla Day. We got to cover the Albany Firebirds. We got to cover the big trade in the NFL. Some say it was blockbuster. We say not so fast. NHL free agency and our favorite athletes to wear the number 48. Stay tuned and stand by for more No Credentials Required. This episode of No Credentials Required is brought to you by Invader Coffee. For the coffee lover who wants good, quality coffee with no bullshit and no filler, Invader Coffee is an ultra-premium, veteran-owned coffee company proudly delivering only the best coffee your hard-earned money can buy. They aim to only serve the highest quality, organic, air-roasted coffee beans sourced from free trade farms all over the world. They keep things simple. The best coffee at an affordable price in order to provide you with the value you deserve for your morning boost. 100% fair trade, 100% organic coffee beans, 100% air-roasted, 100% money-back guarantee. Visit invadercoffee.com, enter promo code BELLYUP at checkout, and receive 15% off your order. Oh, so next week on No Ticket Required, get your whipped cream and your cowboy hats ready. We're reviewing Varsity Blues.
Oh, I forgot Varsity Blues made the list this year. All right.
Well, we swapped it out. We were just going to do Any Given Sunday, but I think it was my sister who said you got to do Varsity Blues. I'm like, all right, we'll do Varsity Blues.
Yeah, we're bumping Any Given Sunday makes the list for next year. We're already cooking. We're already cooking
next year. Exactly. But let's talk about usually it's our Saturday sponsor for the morning brunch, but we haven't talked about this company in a while. They've been very good to us, been very good to Belly Up Sports, and that's Invader Coffee. As that handsomely bearded man said in the commercial, you want the best coffee for your money's worth. You want to get your money's worth for the best coffee out there. And Invader Coffee is the best coffee out there for your morning boost, or in some cases, an afternoon boost. It's 100% air roasted, which means it takes out all that acidity that you find in other brands of coffee that you see on the shelves that are just sitting there collecting dust, collecting mold. You don't want that for your coffee. That's what makes coffee so terrible tasting. It makes the acid, the acidity come out. It gives you reflux. It gives you heartburn, all that bad stuff. No, bitter coffee, they take all that stuff out. All that acidity is taken out with their air roasting method. Takes out all that acidity, so all you're left with is a ultra smooth cup of coffee, where you don't have to put all that extra stuff in there like sugar and milk. I mean, you still can if you want to, but I drink mine black. In fact, what I've been doing, actually, I got their dark blend. I ordered their dark blend one of the last times we had Invader Coffee as a sponsor. I make, because it's summer, and I don't like hot coffee in the summer, so I started making cold brew.
Oh, nice.
In my French press, and I do that every morning. But I've been doing it with the dark blend, and it's outstanding. It's outstanding cold brew. But it's not just me who loves this brand; it's also my co-host here who also loves himself some Invader Coffee.
Oh, that's right. Yes. As a matter of fact, when you were doing the podcast before my time, you mentioned, hey, I got a great brand of coffee for you. And I tried it out, and I was buying Invader before I even joined the ship of no credentials required. And I have long said that, I'm not like some coffee aficionado, but I think I know what good coffee is. And Invader Coffee fits the bill. And I love when they have, now Donut Dealer, that's my favorite blend. I think that takes the title. I love the original, the Invader Coffee blend, the one that started it all. I love that one too. But I also love when they do, because I haven't graduated to dark roast, Ryan. I'm trying to get there, but I'm still a light/medium type guy. And I like to get down with some of the flavored coffees too that they have. Some of the holiday varieties are my favorites. Some of the seasonal ones that they bring in and out. Yep. But the thing about Invader is they do the flavor right. It doesn't overpower the coffee. It lets it come through. It complements the coffee. So that's another reason that you don't need to put flavored cream in or any of these things that people add to coffee, because Invader does the coffee flavoring right, and they pick great flavors. Their shipping is always fast. Their customer service is very responsive.
Yes.
You might pay a little bit more for shipping, but it's going to get to you quick. And you can use our handy dandy promo code of BellyUp at checkout to offset some of that cost. So get yourself a deal. Use the affiliate link. You won't be disappointed. This is one of our longest tenured sponsors with the show. We love them. Invader Coffee.
That's right. That's right. And like most of our affiliate sponsors, Invader Coffee, they get the no credentials required seal of approval.
Here he is.
So the blend I'm using is a Black Heart blend, which is espresso blended, and usually it's the darker roasted coffees that make the best cold brew, and I'm a believer now. So I actually had some today as my cold brew for today was the Black Heart. Use my French press, put it in the fridge. Let's do a tutorial how to make cold brew sometime.
Yeah. I'll be signing up for that, because I'm not a big cold brew, making my own cold brew. But also, if you're like me and you don't know how to do it, Invader, they've got cold brew.
You can get individual cans, or you can get yourself a case, a 12 spot of their cold brew. All right. It's July 1st, which means Bobby Bonilla Day, folks. Bobby Bonilla, folks. Today, according to Spot Track, their Twitter account, he will collect roughly $1.193 million from the Mets and $500,000 from the Orioles today because of his deferral of salary from his contract with the Mets and the Orioles back in the day. His payments with the Mets continue until 2035, and his payout with the Baltimore Orioles run until 2028. So congratulations, Bobby Bonilla. You are roughly $1.6 million richer.
Man.
horrible. Maybe 1.3. I don't know. But Dustin, how are you observing Bobby Bonilla Day? And before you get to that, there are other athletes who are also getting deferred payments today. I'll go through that list in just a moment. But how are you observing Bobby Bonilla Day?
You know,
With this amazing contracts he has.
usually what I do is just I become green with envy on Bobby Bonilla Day because I wish I could just I've got an extra $1.5 million hitting the bank today.
Yeah,
That's a pretty good
yeah.
day for me.
I can imagine that. I can imagine the conversation. Honey, good news. We got money for that expansion you wanted the house.
Yeah.
We can hire that pool. We can hire that pool boy you wanted.
It cut to Mrs. Bonilla. She's like the biggest Mets fan known to man. She's got everything.
Ms. Bonilla on the back.
yeah. But it just every year it kind of creeps up on me that he's still getting paid. Like that's the first thing I'm like, wait, he's still getting paid because about other ones. Like you said, you're going to get to one of the athletes that's on the list. Everybody knows about that. But even that one is coming up soon. He's only got a few more years of it. But Bonilla, you forget about it because it was done seemingly so long ago. He is the namesake. But mostly it's just shock and awe that he's still getting paid, and also a little bit of jealousy.
Indeed. And you guys say, I mean, I think we talked about this last year or maybe the year before about the genius of this contract and how it came to be that he decided to defer a good portion of his salary at the time when he was at the New York Mets.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if he invested it or he just said, we're just going to keep it aside. And then every year, even after his playing days are over, that Bobby Bonilla gets paid by the New York Mets and the Baltimore Orioles. We got to dunk on them too for the ridiculousness of that contract. But it also speaks to Bobby Bonilla kind of being ahead of his time in terms of making contract decisions, because baseball players didn't do this. Now with Major League Baseball, how it's different from the NBA, how it's different from the NFL, how it's different from the NHL, and maybe I'll address that. And when we talk about NHL free agency and how the fact that the CBA has been extended once again, the NHL, so we have more labor peace, which is awesome. But before we talk about that, at the time you didn't think, okay, I'm getting X amount of dollars now. They're paying me this much money now, but I gotta wait until this day in the future until the contract runs out before I get most of my money. I mean, that's the contract that Shohei Ohtani has right now. He's got 10-year, $700 million contract, but for the 10-year of his contract, he's only getting paid a salary of $2 million, and he's deferring $68 million for the next 10 years after that contract ends. So we talk about Bobby Bonilla Day. We dunk on the Mets for doing that contract. We dunk on the Orioles for doing that contract. But I don't think we should so much dunk on those teams as so much as just say, well done, Bobby Bonilla.
Yeah. Yeah, really. Because he's getting money when you need it most. A lot of people, Bobby Bonilla was obviously thinking about the future and when his playing career was over.
Yep.
And there have been documentaries and things, and we all know the reasons why. Athletes are often forced to make very, very big decisions at a very young age. And a lot of people come from backgrounds where they haven't been educated about money. I mean, heck, I make a lot of dumb decisions with money, especially when I was younger. And some of these athletes have no money to show for it when they need money because their playing career is over. And Bobby Bonilla, he just has that stream coming in, and it's a smart thing. And if I remember correctly, Ryan, I think some of Mahomes's contract with the Chiefs was also deferred, but I can't remember. It's become a more common practice now, and it allows, what it does too is it allows teams that are paying a big star, it allows them to, because you're putting off payments of some of the contracts, so it allows them to do some cap magic and maybe go after a title or bring somebody in. So there's multiple benefits to it.
Yeah, and the original contract was that Bobby Bonilla signed a rich contract with the Mets in 1991 as a free agent coming over from the Pittsburgh Pirates. His departure set off Barry Bonds moving from the Pirates after the 1992 season to the San Francisco Giants. But according to Google Gemini, after his second stint with the team in 1999, they bought out his contract, and instead of paying him the remaining $5 million, the Mets agreed to defer the payments with 8% interest, which resulted in a payment of $1.19 million starting in 2011. So this goes back a ways.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Through 2035.
Man.
Yeah.
Mrs. Bonilla, big Met fan.
Yeah, big Met fan. And Julie from Michigan joining us in the chat saying, I'm very late, very sorry. That's okay, Julie. Thanks for stopping in anyway and checking us out. We're talking about Bobby Bonilla, but it's not just Bobby Bonilla who's getting himself a nice payday on July 1st. Rick DiPietro, formerly of the New York Islanders, getting paid $1.5 million by the Islanders. I'm pretty sure most of these athletes have July 1st circled on their calendar every year. It's like, oh, this is the payment. This is what's coming in. He's now on ESPN New York with Rothenberg in the morning. So they have the company. But it's not just Bobby Bonilla getting his money. Max Scherzer, formerly of the Washington Nationals, now playing for the Blue Jays, getting a $15 million payment from the Nationals stemming from his 2015 free agent contract. Those $15 million payments will continue through 2028. But wait, there's more. Chris Davis, formerly of the Baltimore Orioles, there's that team again, getting $9.16 million of deferred payments from the Orioles. He still is going to make another $31.5 million from now through 2037.
Man.
Oh, and thank you for Julie for reminding us. Also, formerly the Detroit Tigers. Yes, that's where he started his career.
Yes, Mr. Scherzer. Although I don't know if you could call what he's doing this year playing for the Blue Jays.
Oh,
he's been out. I'm sorry.
I think he's came back recently.
Yeah.
Manny Ramirez, formerly of the Indians, Red Sox, and I think the Taiwanese Baseball League. He gets $2.038 million from the Red Sox today. They owe him one more $2 million payment next year. Ryan Braun, formerly of the Brewers.
Yeah.
$1.8 million. He'll get those payments through 2031. Lorenzo Cain, also formerly of the Brewers, $1 million. He'll earn 2 more payments through 2027. Brett Saberhagen, another former New York Met, gets $250,000 today. Not as big as the other contracts, but $250,000. He'll earn that money through 2028. Matt Holliday, $1.4 million from the Cardinals. He'll get those payments through 2029. And lastly, former starting pitcher Adam Wainwright, he'll get a $1 million deferral payment today, which he'll earn every July 1st through 2033. So thank you to Spot Track for tweeting those out this afternoon and this morning. So it's not just Bobby Bonilla getting all that kind of money.
Mm-hmm.
It's other former baseball players as well. So there you go. Happy Bobby.
He was the trendsetter, though.
But it was the trendsetter. That's why it's called Bobby Bonilla Day. So happy Bobby Bonilla Day to everyone, one and all, especially Bobby Bonilla. All right, we're going to move on. I'm going to talk quickly about the Albany Firebirds. They complete their perfect season on Saturday with a 60 to 57 win over the Nashville Cats in the Arena Crown Championship. This game would have been, I went to the game. So on a personal note, I am now 5-1 when attending Arena Football Championships or Indoor Football Championships.
There you go.
As Albany, we have broken, the Firebirds have broken the curse of one Antonio L. Allah. We no longer have to hear about Antonio Brown. The curse has been lifted because the Albany Firebirds won the Arena Crown, the Arena Football One Championship. great game. The game started with a deuce by Henry Nell, who I'm pretty sure I would have to think that some NFL teams are going to give him a look based on his accuracy and his kicking abilities. Sam Castronova, I believe he won the MVP of the game. He was the MVP. He was actually named MVP of the league on Friday night. He had a strong game. That defense made two big stops in the first half. They were up 10 at the half and kept going. But Nashville, to their credit, they kept fighting. They kept fighting. Got a huge stop in Albany territory late in the game. Made the game very close. But the Firebirds, their fighting spirit just kept on going. Went ahead. Nashville kept it close. So congratulations to them on their season and made it this far. But Albany Firebirds, they were undeniable all season long, and it was capped with a championship win at MVP Arena on Saturday. To which I need to say to my fellow Capital Region residents, shame on you for not coming out to this game, because I saw it was unfortunate that I saw a lot of empty seats, and they closed the upper tarp but certain fans, some fans did get some seats in the very, very front of the arena, of the upper deck. But I've banged on this drum. It's been kind of a trope for how many years I've been doing this, like last 4 years or so. Like, support your teams. That includes the Albany Firebirds. And yes, we had that unfortunate stink of Antonio Brown soiling the reputation of arena football in this area with that bad will. But that curse is no longer there. That curse has been lifted, and you have local ownership who give a crap about arena football, making sure they're the best quality product on the field. And that was demonstrated on Saturday afternoon when they won the Arena Football One championship.
Oh, congratulations to the Firebirds. I'm going to make a statement right now. I need to get down to the game. Everything just sneaks up on me. I mean, now this year I've had some things happening, but other than that, I got to get down. I got to call myself to the carpet. I got to get down to a game next season. We get after it, because this is a good team, and you got to support teams when they're good, or else they're not going to be here anymore.
Exactly.
And like you said, Ryan, we have ownership group that really cares about this team, and that's part of the reason why they chose the Firebird to bring the name back and everything back, because they know what it meant to this area.
Exactly. Playmaker jumping in the chat. No creds, bros. Good evening. Good evening to you, Playmaker. Thanks for stopping by for a little bit. But yeah, Albany Firebirds. We're going to try to get our friends of the show, Levac and Gaz, back on to talk about it. Levac is the Jeff Levac. He's the team president. Tom Gazlowski, he is the color commentator for the broadcasts, along with Andrew Santillo, who does play-by-play. So they've been doing all that work all season long for both Evergreen Now and for Vice TV, Vice Sports. So I gotta get them both back on. Friends of the show, gotta get them back on, and we can talk about the season. And I'm sure Levac will have more to say about both Levac and God will have more to say about this win. I know God's is on vacation currently, so we'll have to wait until probably next Saturday to get him on. So, or next Tuesday. Actually, no, it'll be next Saturday, because their show goes until 7.
On Tuesdays.
On every weekday from 4 to 7 on Fox Sports Radio 980 in Albany. So or sometimes I make an appearance. So, but yeah, congratulations to Albany Firebirds, and let's get some folks out there, get some Capital Region residents, pay attention to this team, because I have a feeling that this is they're going to be dominant for a very long time, as long as they keep their core players. All right, we're going to move quickly over to the Steelers-Dolphins trade that happened yesterday, and also pinpoint on a little bit on NHL free agency. Yesterday we had that trade that happened in the NFL between the Pittsburgh Steelers, Miami Dolphins. The Pittsburgh Steelers, they acquire Jalen Ramsey and Jonnu Smith from the Pittsburgh Steelers, while the Dolphins get back Minkah Fitzpatrick, who was drafted by the Dolphins, and a late round pick, I believe, in next year's draft. But it wasn't the only trade that the Dolphins made over the last 48 hours. They also traded a draft pick to the New York Giants, a 2027 seventh round pick to the New York Giants, and a conditional 2026. I'm sorry. They're trading a conditional 2026 pick to the New York Giants for a 2027 seventh round pick and a player who's coming out of retirement, Darren Waller.
Yeah.
Which is very interesting. So yesterday's trade was described as a blockbuster trade, although I don't think it was. But I have my thoughts on it. But I'm sure I know my co-host does too. So I'm gonna have him get his thoughts on it because I've been talking a lot the last couple of minutes with the Firebirds. But I want to hear your thoughts, Dustin, about this. What's going on with the Dolphins and the Steelers?
All right. Well, I'll make them kind of quick. But I feel like I don't know that this trade makes the Steelers better. And I can't really get a feel for what they're trying to do this offseason. Because Steelers fans initially, now I don't follow a lot of Steeler fans on Twitter because I'm a fan of the Seahawks. You know how I feel about the Steelers. Yes, I am still bitter about 2006. But they initially were happy. They're like, we got Jalen Ramsey. This is awesome. You know, it's gonna improve our defense. Then you found out that they gave up Minkah Fitzpatrick, and it's a little different. Minkah Fitzpatrick, correct me if I'm wrong, but he's only 28 years old. It's not like he's long in the tooth or anything like that. And Jalen Ramsey, when this trade first broke, Ryan, I said Jalen Ramsey, and Playmaker would know this better than anybody, I think. Jalen Ramsey was one of the best at the position when he was on the Rams. He's not that guy anymore. You look at the way that he's played the last few seasons. His seasons in Miami were forgettable. He's dealt with some injuries. I think I can't remember who he was with before Miami. I think it was
Jaguars, with the Jaguars, and then the Rams. It was traded to the Rams, and then he signed with the Dolphins a couple years ago in free agency.
Yeah, he's not the guy he was anymore. And giving up Minkah Fitzpatrick, that's a lot. Now, I'll tell you one person who's very happy to have Jonnu Smith. Now, I think Jonnu Smith, he'll do good things in Pittsburgh as a tight end. You know, he'll give him a target. But Arthur Smith, very happy to have Jonnu Smith back on the football team, I imagine. He will create plays just for Jonnu. Jonnu will be the number one option in that offense. But I don't know how this makes the Steelers better. And getting rid of Minkah Fitzpatrick, I wouldn't have done it.
Yeah, Minkah Fitzpatrick is going to be 29 in November. Okay. Jalen Ramsey is 30.
Yeah.
But as Playmaker said in the chat, injuries hurt Ramsey.
They did.
But... Yeah, but also played for the Dolphins. And the Dolphins, they had a lot of injuries. And yeah, they had a lot of injuries last year and the year before, which kind of let them down later in the season. Also hurt them early in the season too because they had that awful start last year, and they finished 8-9. But part of it, there's two parts of this trade that kind of hit the nail on the head for me. Steelers are indicating they're all in. They're all in for this year. This is a make or break year for Mike Tomlin. This is a make or break deal. This is make or break this year for their GM. I'm trying to remember who his name is. It's not Nick Khan. I'm trying to remember his name for the life of me here. Hang on, I'm talking about. Hang on, I'm looking.
I'm trying.
Omar Khan.
Okay, yeah.
It's a make break year for Omar Khan. It's a make or break year for Mike Tomlin. Tomlin signed a 2-year extension after he just got his over 500 record in 2023. So he signed a 2-year extension. Last year they got to the playoffs, but they did not look impressive in the wild card round against Baltimore. In fact, they were absolutely destroyed by the end of the first half. But yeah, this is an all-in year, and B, Jonnu Smith cannot escape Arthur Smith. Arthur Smith loves him.
He
does. Jonnu Smith, and I think it was Urinating Tree who said basically Jonnu Smith is crack to Arthur Smith.
Yeah, he can't get off him.
Can't get off him. Now, for the Dolphins, is Chris Greer going to keep his job?
I
Is
don't
he
know.
looking to keep his job? Was this more of a salary dump than anything else?
I don't know what it is, because we both pontificated on the last show, which was our top 10 NFL headlines we were looking and keeping an eye on heading into the season. And I said I didn't think that McDaniel would finish the year as the Dolphins coach. And you went a step further, if memory serves, and you said Chris Greer out as well.
Yeah.
So, but looking at these moves, I don't know what they're trying to do.
Yeah, and people and Dolphins Twitter was all ablaze yesterday, saying, "Oh, who's going to be our option for tight end for next year?" Oh, look at that, Darren Wallen coming out of retirement, getting traded to the Dolphins.
Waller the baller, as Matthew Berry used to call him on the 06010.
I have to wonder how long that's. No. Here's the thing. I don't know why he retired, or if he were just retired, or he took a year off. Because I know that divorce from Kelsey Plum of the Aces.
Yes, I believe Vegas Aces.
The Vegas Aces, like that must have taken a toll on him, and he's had a history of mental health issues. He's a recovering alcoholic. He's a former user, and yeah, stuff like that is good. You don't want that kind of stuff to trigger you. So I have to wonder if this was just more of a gap year situation, just to take some time off to. Oh, sorry. Plum's with the LA Sparks.
Oh, that's right. Sorry. I forgot she was free agent signing playmaker. I can't remember.
Playmaker knows ball. He'll tell you.
Yeah.
But I also kind of wonder what kind of shape he's kept himself in, how he'll fit into the Dolphins offense, because training camp starts very, very soon. You're going to need some time to really acclimate yourself to the playbook that they have. It's a very fast offense. It's a very high speed offense. It's a very go offense. That's predicated on being very fast and using cheat codes, a cheat motion to distract other offenses. And a lot of times last year, Tua used Jonnu Smith as, I wouldn't say a safety valve, but a very important part of that offense. I remember against the Jets last year, in last year's game against the Jets, they went to overtime. Jonnu Smith couldn't be stopped. The Jets couldn't stop him. Of course, the Jets couldn't stop a lot of people last year. But yeah, I mean, he's one of those guys who could change the complexion of a game in a second. So I don't know how Waller will figure into this offense. We'll have to see.
Yeah, I mean, Darren, it's kind of, you don't know because his time on the Giants were an awful team that year, those years, and I think he dealt with injuries on his time on the Giants. But when Waller was on the Raiders, he was the real deal.
He was
for a couple of years.
He was a breakout star of that Hard Knocks that they had back in 2019, 2020.
Somewhere around there.
It was 2019 because that was when they picked up Antonio Brown.
Oh yeah. And then he went into the cryogenic chamber without any footwear on. He got frostbite. Oh, I'm sorry.
Playmaker saying Kelsey Plum was traded to the Sparks when the Aces trade for Jewel Lloyd. So thank you, Playmaker.
Thank you.
He also says Jalen Ramsey will be used like Minka Fitzpatrick, but it won't be the same. No, it won't. It won't. And guess who they get to see in week 1? The Steelers.
Who's that?
My New York Jets.
Oh yes.
And guess who Jalen Ramsey has allowed the most yards to ever since he joined the Dolphins?
I believe that would be one Garrett Wilson.
That would be correct. All right, but yeah, it's funny that people are saying, "Oh, it's a blockbuster trade." It's a blockbuster trade. This is not a blockbuster trade. Yeah. This was a one-sided trade because Omar Khan is all in because he knows his job is at stake, and the Dolphins are just trying to get some capital. They're trying to get rid of salary because they also know jobs on the line, and it's not going to be a fun year in Miami. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'll eat my words later, and they'll go. The Miami Dolphins will probably win the AFC East knowing our streak of luck we've had with
know.
predictions on the show.
I know. I'm really scared. I don't want to do predictions in our NFL preview when the time comes around.
No, I'll definitely be more realistic when it comes to my New York Jets. That's for sure. Especially after last year. God. All right, moving on. Okay, so we'll go quickly into NHL free agency. Dustin, we've had some. I would say it's kind of a boring free agency period so far because we had a lot of names that were out there. Brad Marchand, he was supposed to be a free agent, winds up signing an extension with Florida. Good. A lot of those team players from that team, from last year's team, decided to stick around. So Eklund stayed, Marchand stayed. Sam Bennett signed a contract pretty much the next day after they won the Stanley Cup.
Yeah.
After he won the Conn Smythe Trophy as the MVP. So those names were off the board. Mitch Marner gets traded out of Toronto, which I think he wanted. It was a 1-for-1 for Nicholas Roy. Not a whole lot of big names moving around. It was just kind of I wouldn't say a dull season, but not as exciting as next year when Connor McDavid goes to free agency. But we've had some we had some movement around here. Ryan McLeod signs with the Buffalo Sabres. Gets a contract extension with them. Michael Granlund goes from Calgary over to Anaheim. 3 years, $21 million. Some other names out here. Oh, so Corey Perry goes to the LA Kings on a 1-year deal. Kings made some signings today, or announced some signings today. If I go to the tracker here, they picked up Corey Perry. Ken Holland doing some work. They bring in Anton Forsberg. They bring in Brian Dumoulin, Cody Ceci, Joel Armia, Corey Perry. So there's some names out there. Right now they're winning free agency, but you don't win the Stanley Cup in free agency.
No, you don't. No, you don't. But you can make moves that result in winning the Stanley Cup. And let me give a little shout out to the playmaker himself, because he wished me luck before the series. And he also was the first to reach out and say sorry when the Panthers inevitably won again. So shouts out to being a good sport about it, playmaker. Enjoy the win. But the Oilers, they need to sign a goalie in free agency, and they're not doing it.
They did.
Yeah.
They did. They signed Matt Tompkins.
Oh man. I mean, they re-signed Bouchard yesterday.
They did. They signed Bouchard because he was on a restricted free agent deal, so they just extended him. But Matt Tompkins, formerly of the Tampa Bay Lightning, hang on here, because it shows his 2024 stats. I don't know where he was in 2025. We'll have to look.
I don't know.
Let's look at Hockey Reference. Matt Tompkins, formerly of Tampa Bay Lightning, 6-3 with 3-2 with 1 overtime loss, 3.33 goals against. He was in their system, drafted by Chicago, but has been in the Lightning system. So, yay! Well, my Devils made some moves. They re-signed Jake Allen to a 4-year extension. They also bring in Connor Brown, formerly of your Edmonton Oilers. They also bring in Evgeny Dadonov from the Stars on a 1-year deal. So Playmaker says in the chat, "Ooh, 3-peat on the rise."
I mean, could be that if they don't break it up, it's hard to do. But if they don't break it up, I mean, why would you leave?
He also says it's the most ironic thing in hockey, the state of Florida becoming a hockey state. Look, I was in the chat for Urinating Trees free agency track live stream, and I said something about how the income tax narrative needs to be thrown off a cliff because it's just a dumb excuse for people to say it's a dumb excuse to say why teams are losing. You say, well, don't forget, this was brought up this year. Like, why wasn't it brought up in the mid 2000s or the early 2000s? I thought to myself, because neither the Lightning or the Panthers were spending money.
Yeah.
They weren't extending contracts to their key players back then. Now you're seeing that more often. You saw them make the move for Matthew Tkachuk to bring him over from Calgary when he was unhappy in Calgary.
Mm-hmm.
And now he's been to three consecutive Stanley Cups, and they've won 2 in a row with him. They're keeping key players like Bennett and Ekblad and Marchand, who they traded for at the trade deadline.
Yeah, and also if the tax break thing was as big of a narrative as it is, hey, guess what? Texas has no state tax as well. Why aren't the Stars better?
Texas, I mean, the Stars are a very good team. They went to the final.
Yeah.
Nevada, Vegas, no income tax. Washington, Seattle, no income tax. I'm trying to think who else doesn't have. Nashville, Tennessee, the Predators. They don't have state income tax.
Yeah, and that wasn't a shot I was taking at the Stars, but it's a 1-to-1. It's not the only reason. People are like, the Florida teams are good because of the no state tax. It's not. No,
it's a silly narrative brought up by a guy who doesn't understand, who's a player primarily before he went into broadcasting, and doesn't really have experience in the business of hockey. I mean, because as you're a player, when you're a player, you're told the owners are always going to be against you. The owners always win. This is not 1970s Toronto and Harold Ballard anymore. That stuff needs to. You're seeing these richer and richer contracts, the salary cap continues to go up, and now we have labor peace through 2030. So this narrative of the owners are always going to be against you, the income tax thing. The state, they can make all these moves because the state income tax. I'm like, no, because the NHL, unlike other leagues, they have a salary floor. You have to spend X amount of dollars, or else face penalties, and you'll be fined by the league. So you have to spend X amount of dollars. And again, like I've mentioned on other programs, you don't pay income tax necessarily in the state you're in. You're paying income tax in other cities and other states and other provinces you play in as you play that week.
Yes.
Duh.
Yeah.
And Playmaker also says, if income tax was a part of the sports, then the Magic would have several NBA titles by now. The Jags would have been into a Super Bowl by now. Exactly.
Yeah, exactly right. And I used the example on one of our previous shows, Playmaker. The Mavs would have been able to attract top free agents for the majority of Dirk Nowitzki's career. But guess what they never could do? The Mavs were always looking for a center, and they tried to get DeAndre Jordan, and they got spurned.
Yep.
Yep.
And this narrative needs to die because it's the teams because you're just basically saying the teams that it's just an excuse to make for teams that lose to those teams. Like, because I know Paul Bissonnette was big and rooted for Toronto. You saw the Toronto Maple Leafs tie the jacket that he wore during the semifinal, the conference semifinals when they played Florida. Like, he was totally rooting the bag for them, totally rooting for them. When they lost, he brought up this income tax narrative, and it's silly, and it's just an excuse to sit because your team your preferred team didn't win.
Yeah, and I'm going to say, hats off to the great one, because his Oiler bias came through a couple times, but he very much was very complimentary of the Florida Panthers. And you know what I don't remember hearing from Wayne's mouth? The income tax thing.
Yep, exactly. And it's just a debate to get clicks and hot takes. No, it's silly. It's silly. All right, before we close out the show, we're going to go through this pretty quickly. Our favorite athletes to win at number 48. We both have baseball, but Dustin, who is your favorite athlete to win at number 48?
So in a first, I'm picking somebody that is still playing, because I don't think I've picked.
Me too.
I don't think I picked somebody that was still playing on previous shows. I would have to go all the way back, but I don't think I have. I will be picking somebody that will that is still playing in a few short shows. But my favorite athlete to wear number 48 is one Jacob deGrom.
Hey.
Entered the league with the New York Mets. Injuries derailed him a little bit, but he was as dominant as anyone when he first came into the league. He was the 2014 Rookie of the Year. He is I believe, a 2-time Cy Young Award winner, or a 3-time All-Star. And I actually applaud Jacob deGrom. I just like the way he attacks things. He's a pleasure to watch pitch. But mainly I picked him because he just keeps dealing with injuries and adversity, and he keeps coming back. And even his latest stint with the Texas Rangers, he said that he's made changes to the way he throws. He either said he throws harder now, or he doesn't quite throw as hard. I can't remember which, but he's kind of he's changing the style of how he pitches. And he's had a bounce back season, Ryan. There's no way around it. And I just think he's going to be one of these ones that when he does hang it up, you're going to realize how good he was and how much of a privilege it was to watch Jacob deGrom pitch. So I am picking, it hurts me to pick a Met, but I'm picking Jacob deGrom.
Okay. I am picking former New York Yankee, who currently plays for the Detroit Tigers, from Latham, New York. Pitched at Shaker High School. Tommy Kahnle.
There we go.
Great setup man from the bullpen with the New York Yankees for a couple seasons. Wore number 48 from 2017 through 2020. They went to the Dodgers for a couple seasons, came back to the Yankees in 2023. He wore number 41 after that, but because Anthony Rizzo took number 48 after Kahnle signed with the Dodgers. But I'm picking Kahnle as my number 40, as my favorite number 48. Hard throwing pitcher out of the bullpen. Local guy.
Yeah,
great. It's great. The local guy comes makes it to the majors, like a number of other athletes that have who were born in this area. Maybe we got to do a top 10 list of professional athletes who were born in this area. I can think of a few top of my head.
Yeah, I can think of a couple.
Kahnle, Pat Riley.
Yep, Pat Riley was here. Jimmer Fredette here.
Yep, Anthony Weaver, formerly of I think we graduated the same year, 95. Anthony Weaver.
Okay, Anthony Weaver, and then
played for Saratoga High School. Yep,
Andre Davis of the Houston Texans and Browns at one time. Yeah,
yes, he played for Virginia Tech. He was one of Michael Vick's primary target at as Hokies.
I think he's in Niskuna, wasn't he? I think is where he grew. Yeah,
Niskuna. Yep. And there was that one kid who played at Pitt, played for the Giants, played for the Patriots. I can't remember his name.
Oh man, I'm losing it.
But I'll think of it eventually. It'll come to my head eventually. After the show ends, I'll be like, that good. All right, before we get out of here, Playmaker gets the last comment in. It's a good show, fellas. Always a pleasure to tune in. Thanks for showing up, Playmaker. We appreciate it. Well, a little long on this one, but we had plenty to talk about in this Tuesday edition. But we'll be back on Saturday with our boy of summer, Kevin Wilson, to talk Major League Baseball for the week. Thank God June's over, because, man, the Mets and the Yankees, especially the Mets. You see what happened to the Mets this past weekend?
Oh, no, I missed it.
Got swept by the Pirates.
Oh, man.
In their 3 series, they were outscored 30-4.
Ooh, the Pirates put it on them. Ooh.
They did. The Mets are not good right now. But we'll talk more about that on Saturday, amongst other things we'll talk about. Including hot food takes, our favorite athletes, number 49, because it'll be the 49th recording of this show on Saturday,
that's crazy.
We're already in July. But before we get out of here, just want to remind the audience about our social media channels. We can find us: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. Just hit the note, just search for No Credentials Required. You can also find other podcasts and written articles at bellyupsports.com. On the podcast side, subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen to podcasts, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Spreaker, Amazon Music, iHeart, TuneIn, Pandora, and also our YouTube page after the show. And then also, don't forget to hit that notification bell on Twitter and on YouTube so you know about so you know about show announcements, so you know about videos that go up when the live show goes up. We appreciate you stopping by. And to our Belly Up audience, watch on the Belly Up Twitter/X and on the Facebook channel. Hit that notification bell. Go to our pages, follow us. We'd love to have you stop by and engage with us. Also, on the podcast side, rate, review, comment. On the Belly Up YouTube side, leave a comment in the comment section. Just let us know, what if you watched Invictus, what you thought of it. Also, talk about other news that we talked about tonight. But we're going to get out of here. Thank you for tuning in to No Credentials Required, where you don't need a press pass to talk sports. We are proudly presented by Belly Up Sports. For Dustin Henry, I'm Ryan McCarthy. We'll be back on our usual channels on Saturday morning, 10 a.m. Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. Again, search for No Credentials Required. The replay is always at 2:15 p.m. It's going to be at 2:15 p.m. on Wednesdays and on Saturday afternoons on the Belly Up YouTube side. But we're live at 10 a.m. on our other channels. Again, Facebook, Twitter /X, and YouTube. Love to have you join us for Saturday morning, 10 a.m. Have a great week. Also, don't forget, Friday is Independence Day. A lot of people say it's the 4th of July. It's Independence Day. Enjoy your freedoms. Don't hold a firecracker in your hand like JPP did. We don't want to see you go to the hospital, but be safe. Celebrate safely. Celebrate responsibly. And we'll talk to you again Saturday morning.
Good night, everybody.